Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another Jubilee video, and today I'm going to be watching a woke college teen debate 20 Trump supporters. This should be very interesting. Let's do it.
So I don't see
is
anything
racist
or
in the
any
first one.
statement that he's ever made that's racist. I mean, there's things that there's accusations, but there's no facts behind it. And this whole idea that all
you could argue he's
Hispanics
racist
are
against him.
illegal immigrants and they came here undocumented is not true, because my family came here on both sides through the legal immigration process, not illegally here.
Okay, so that was a bold claim. You just said that, there's no facts to substantiate the idea that Donald Trump is going to be a racist. So in the 1970s, there's civil litigation held against him by the DOJ of the state of New York for literally not renting to black people. What they did is they'd send in quote-unquote testers to his rental properties at the time. They'd send in a white person. The white person would ask the property manager if they had any available properties to rent. They'd say, yes, here we go, here's a housing application. Then they'd send in a black tester that asked the same question, and then they'd actually be denied. When this was investigated by the DOJ, the property manager told them that this was just a quote-unquote order from the higher-up, from this boss, from Donald Trump. And then they investigated Donald Trump, brought civil litigation against him, and they essentially determined that, he wasn't renting to black people, in which he then had to promise the DOJ that he was no longer going to racially profile in his housing application, and even had to put ads in the New York newspaper at the time, saying that he'd rent to black people.
So what you're saying is basically he's not renting to black people, but yet he employs a lot of minorities. He employs a lot of blacks, Asians, Hispanics onto his staff. So why wouldn't he be renting to black people? It doesn't make any sense. Also,
because it is an example of racism.
But also is an example that the Department of Justice is weaponized against people that do something in life.
Can you give me any evidence for that?
I'll give you evidence of that. Yes, I will, because Trump was political for a very long time.
He completely ignored what he said about him being racist regarding the hotel stuff. But all right.
Political statements. He was very unpopular with a lot of Democrats. He would say things that they didn't like, and they would go after him. He weaponize the Department of Justice,
but that's
just like they are right now. They're weaponizing the Department of Justice against him. They're using the government for their political power to go against him because they disagree with his political opinion. That's what they do. The Democrats have been going after him for years, even considering he used to be a registered Democrat. So I don't believe that Trump is racist whatsoever. I don't see that, because I see his employees. I've been to a lot of his properties in the past, and I know that he hires a lot of minorities. So I don't believe that to be true.
Okay, so your claim here is that, well, he actually didn't do what the DOJ accused him and held him liable for doing.
Yeah, but the DOJ says a lot of things that doesn't make it true.
Can I finish real quick? So you're saying that the DOJ actually was unfairly persecuting Donald Trump, a political opponent. In the 70s, he wasn't running for any public office, so I don't know why you'd say that was a political opponent. But maybe we could look at a more intuitive example.
Well, he's made political statements in the 70s as well.
Okay, okay. So your claim is that, the DOJ was unfairly persecuting him. Do you have any evidence of that?
If you go back, do you have any evidence why the DOJ was investigating him in the first place?
Yeah, because they had gotten
No, there's no evidence. I mean, the DOJ has been an illegitimate organization for a very long time.
Okay.
So they make a lot.
Trump supporters are the same, man. It's so disappointing. It's just, I don't know why they live in America if they think the entire government that's against Trump is corrupt. It's
a lot of statements, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna actually go through with anything. Nothing really happened at the end of the day. It was just a witch hunt at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think you have any evidence for the claim that it was a witch hunt. I think that at the end of the day, this is a conspiracy theory. I think that Donald Trump
conspiracy theory.
Mind if I finish real quick? Thanks. So I think that at the end of the day, this is going to be a conspiracy theory. I think that the DOJ does this. That Donald Trump would perpetuate a lot of conspiracy theories. He did this with the outcome of the 2020 election. But let's look at another example that's not coming from like the DOJ or like the criminal justice system. And we're like referencing like 2012 through 2014. Donald Trump said that because Barack Obama is black, he's obviously not a U.S.-born citizen. So therefore, he
did not say that he was black. He's not a U.S.-born citizen.
Well, let's talk about the birther movement, right? So I just have a quick question. Would you say trying to take
there was legitimacy questioning his birth certificate.
Questioning his birth certificate. What's legitimacy?
There is questioning because his family came from Kenya. How is he running for president?
Wait, Donald Trump's mother is a Scottish immigrant. Should we question his birth certificate?
They came here through the legal process. He didn't come here through the legal process.
Wait, so you're saying that Obama's parents were undocumented migrants?
One second, I just want to clarify this. Disqualified him as president.
I just want to answer a question.
Which would have disqualified.
I want to ask you a question.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who I'm friends with, looked into the claims of that birth certificate, and there was questions of whether it was falsified.
Wait,
So there was a
you
forgery.
actually believe that? You
Yes, I
actually
do believe that.
Okay,
It was
so you were
forged.
racist
Yes, I
just like
do.
Donald Trump.
I'm not racist.
Do you mind
Oh
if I-
wow, you're calling a Hispanic and a Cuban racist.
Do you mind if I take 30 seconds here? All right. So first of all, yes.
Another white liberal. All right.
That was terrible. That was terrible. Oh no,
All right.
Black Trump.
Want to start where you guys left off?
Yeah, I think that hopefully we could slow things down a little bit here, have some productive conversation. So, how about I just start off by giving you my reasons why I think that Donald Trump is racist. So, with the last guy, we kind of touched on the civil litigation that was held against him in the 1970s for not renting to black people. But I want to focus upon a more intuitive example, proponing the idea that Barack Obama was not a U.S.-born citizen. So first, I just want to ask you a very simple question. Would you say trying to take away opportunity from a black man because he's black is racism?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yes, I do believe that.
Okay.
But I think we also have to look into what the administration when he was in office did, not what happened back in 1970 when he wasn't even in office and it was a complete different administration making the rules.
Okay.
When he was in office, he gave opportunity zones, gave funding to HBCUs. He also implemented the First Step Act, which I feel like liberals really focus on, our prison system has a majority of African Americans in there. So we gave them an opportunity to get out early, to start a new life. So I think if we're going to go back and look at some stuff of the 1970s, that's not really fair because there's a lot of people on the Democrat side that have done worse things while in office. Joe Biden, who when he was a senator, pushed to get African Americans incarcerated at a higher rate. Like actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. And what Trump did in office helped the black community at an exponential amount compared to all the other administrations on the Democratic Party.
Okay, so you're saying what he did in office helped African Americans more than other administrations.
Yeah.
You referenced historically black universities. Do you know how much funding he sent to HBCUs?
A decent amount. I can't give you the exact
So the
Yo, he's
exact
researching.
amount was $250 million per year.
Okay.
Do you know how much Obama's administration and Biden's administration have sent?
I would like to hear.
Obama sent $1 billion a year, and Biden sent $4 billion a year. So not only did he decrease funding to historically black universities,
Oh my God, he's cooking. I didn't even know this. Oh, I didn't know this. Yeah, that whole I spent money for HBU thing, that's cooked. All right, let me read this. Signed the Future Act in 2019, making $255 million in annual funding for HBCUs permanent, which is a good thing. But that's just one part of a diverse stream of assets that includes grants, contracting awards, and debt relief. In total, the federal government provided HBCUs with at least $1.8 billion a year from 2016 to 2018. During the Obama administration, the federal government provided as much as $2.4 billion in a year to help with recovery from the Great Recession. So, Trump, I think you could still say that what Trump did was a good thing in this aspect, in terms of helping HBCUs.
universities, all right, but also you referenced the First Step Act there. How did Donald Trump influence the First Step Act to get passed?
Through Congress.
Well, how did he influence that bill through Congress?
Answer that question for me.
Because he didn't influence it. In fact, it was proposed to Congress under Obama's administration, and it was shot down.
So,
and then something else I did want to
First, multiple federal justice reform bills have been signed into law over the last 20 years. In 2004, President Bush signed the Prisoner Reentry Initiative. In 2008, Bush signed the Second Chance Act. In 2010, Obama signed the Fair Sentencing Act. Trump signed the First Step Act in 2018. So, this fact check doesn't do much for me.
At the end of the day, as president, he has the ability to sign or send a bill back to Congress, and he signed it. If he was truly racist, he would not have signed it in the first place.
Okay, but
But at the end of the day, he still signed it. He has that ability. Just like every president before, if they don't like a bill, they have the ability to send it right back to Congress, and there's congressional means to get it passed without the president's approval. But still, he signed it. If he's really a racist, why did he sign it? in the first place.
Yeah, well, I don't think that we could just ignore Trump saying that Obama isn't a U.S.-born citizen and he's probably from Kenya, right? I don't think that we could ignore.
But
like,
here's the
what-
here's the
do you mind
thing.
if I finish here, sir?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think that we could ignore the civil litigation against him in the 1970s for not renting to black people. I don't think we could ignore his recent comments about Kamala Harris saying that she turned black, implying that she wasn't black prior, just because he signed the First Step Act into law. Like, I understand that does do something for the African American community, but I don't think we could say because he did this one thing that all of these other examples are null and void. You also referenced Joe Biden there. I have no problem saying that Joe Biden has a racist past. And in fact, I think that's something I need to recognize and we should all recognize. But what I can't stand is when I hear people denying Trump's racism, saying it never occurred when it's so obvious.
But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to explain right now is that Biden has signed bills into law, voted for them that hurt the community. Trump has not done anything to that extent. Sure, he says some things were maybe a little bit iffy way back. You're citing things from back in the 1970s that did not even have like that. He couldn't even like sign a law or anything like that because he wasn't even in office.
Okay. I guess where I want to start with is looking at the actual word racist. I think nowadays it's a word that people throw around kind of like the word love. It is a very powerful word. It has a lot of negative connotation. It has a lot of power that comes with it. When I think of racist, I think of Hitler, who murdered millions of Jews. When I think of racist, I think of the Ottoman Turks that murdered 1.5 million of my people. I think of
So you think of the most extreme cases of racism? Okay.
that. I don't think of Trump, who maybe he said things in the past, this or that. If we want to go about talking about saying things, Biden said Obama is one of the first mainstream blacks to be bright and intelligent. He said that you can only walk into a 7-Eleven if you have an Indian accent. He has said that if you vote for Trump over him, you're not black. He said so many of these things in his past, and the prompt is talking about, is Trump racist? But to me, it's not about that because of how the media has displayed racism. They just focus on Trump, and it is about both sides. They don't touch upon Biden. They don't talk about Biden. And when you look at his policies, like my friend mentioned, if Trump was a racist, he would not be passing policies. He wouldn't even give $1 to these black universities. If he truly had this, it's an intention of the heart. And I'll go out and I'll step out and say, I'm sure everybody here has said something racist in their life. That doesn't make you a racist. It's kind of like if you weigh 400 pounds and you eat celery, you're not skinny. All these examples that you're talking about are from years and years ago. What has he done that's racist in the last maybe 5-10 years?
10 years ago, 2014, Trump was actively proponing Barack Obama's birther myth, the idea that he was not born in
But
the
you already
US.
said that example. Give me something new, because that's
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. I mean, you're asking for some of the last 5 to 10 years. That was 10 years ago. I thought that I'd just go over that again.
Okay.
Another reason why I wanted to go over that
Damn.
again with you is because how intuitively
composure.
racist it is, right? Denying or saying that a black man should have less opportunity because of the color of his skin is very obviously racist.
when did he make that comment?
Yeah, so the whole birther myth with Barack Obama, right, essentially hoped to achieve that he wasn't born in the U.S., he was born in Kenya, and because he's not a U.S.-born citizen, he shouldn't have the opportunity to run for U.S. president. The only reason he said that is because of the color of Barack Obama's skin.
But
I would like to
has he explicitly said he said that specifically because he's black, or are you just taking that assumption?
Okay, so what else? What explanation do we have here?
I've said everything I need to say. I'm waiting on you.
Okay, so
That is pathetic. That was an absolutely pathetic argument or point to bring up when you just asked him a question, and then he responded. You just don't know how to answer it, so that's pathetic. That's absolutely pathetic.
I mean,
Come on.
well, yeah, I think that looking at Barack Obama, saying that he was born in Africa and then even denying his birth certificate from Hawaii, still like attributing his birth to Africa, I don't really see any other explanation apart from that, besides the fact that Barack Obama has black skin. And then another example
That's
from
also
like,
a comment. That wasn't a racist action. That was a comment.
Okay.
What action has he taken part in the last 5-10 years that have been racist against not even just blacks, against other races?
all right, first, I don't think that we should call like African Americans like blacks. I think that's a dehumanizing word. But
Okay.
second
That's
of all,
your opinion, but
okay, sorry. Second of all, right, even if we
Yeah, I don't really care about the blacks or whites term.
you look at like the last month or two, I'd say that saying Kamala Harris, right, quote unquote, turned black, implying that she wasn't black prior, that's another racist comment. We could also reference that
Yeah,
as
because she
debate.
plays with that. One day she's Indian, one day she's black.
That's not true.
Hello.
He's
Howdy.
not doing bad.
It's nice to meet you as well.
So, you're looking back
Is that
at
pretend
Donald
kindness
Trump's
or real
history.
kindness?
One thing I do want to say, I don't know if you are aware, Palm Beach didn't used to let African Americans there. Donald Trump sued the city of Palm Beach to allow black membership at Mar-a-Lago. That is not racist. Of Palm Beach.
Trump was one of the first club owners in Palm Beach to open to Jews and blacks, but he did not need to go to court. Fair enough.
To allow black membership at Mar-a-Lago. That is not racist. I think one of the problems that we have a lot on the left, every time there's a disagreement, we get thrown, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're this, you're that. And it dissolves the discussions that we should be having on policies. Secondly, Donald Trump worked with Senator Scott to create opportunity zones in black communities. If he was truly a racist, it's not something that he would do. So I think the whole premise is he's a
Fair enough.
racist, he's a sexist, takes away from policy positions that we should be
I do think that
discussing.
Trump is racist thing
If we go
probably
to the
one of
border
weaker
and we
points.
talk about rapists and murderers, yeah, they are happening. Laken Riley is now dead. We have 300,000 missing migrant children known sold into the sex trade.
An inspector general report found that 2019-2023 ICE had not issued notices to appear in court to 291,000 unaccompanied migrant children. 32,000 children failed to appear. Based on the ICE's finding, UCs who do not appear in immigration court are considered more at risk for trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. So the assumption, or the assumption is that they got trafficked. Okay. What was their point here?
Per the last IG report, these are important issues. Our economy is important issues.
You mind if I ask you a question?
Absolutely,
Are you a U.S. born citizen?
100%.
You are statistically speaking 4 times more likely to commit a violent crime than an undocumented migrant. So when you kind
They
of
shouldn't
virtue
be
signal
here.
on behalf of that.
They shouldn't be here.
Okay. All right.
And
See, that's what I think. Like, if you want to make the racist claim, the whole thing with immigrants, I think, is perfectly embodies like being racist. I still think being a racist is a little bit of a weak argument, but I think it's the strongest argument you're gonna get, in addition to the hotel stuff and the Obama stuff.
America, and my husband's an immigrant,
Okay, yeah, but
a
then
legal
also
immigrant
okay.
who came here legally.
Okay, I understand that
We've
you
got
wanna-
100 ISIS in our country right now that was reported. We've got gotaways. We've got Tende de Aragua. I've interviewed Oscar Blue, who's been through the Darien Gap 4 times. People are dying.
Okay, so you're saying that we have a crisis at the southern
Overreaction.
border.
Well, I'm saying that you're saying that
Yeah.
Donald Trump is racist. Donald Trump loves America.
Okay. Well, first of all,
And
I
he
want
puts
to
Americans first.
ask you one simple question first, and maybe we could get back to the prompt. Do you think that we have a crisis at the southern border today?
100%.
So you'd say that we also had a crisis at the southern border at the end of Trump's term because we have the same amount of
Actually,
daily
we have the
crossings
low.
today than then?
No, we do not have.
Yes,
the
we
same
have
amount of
about 20.
crossings.
During the last 4 months of the Trump administration, there was an average 2,400 illegal crossings. During the Biden administration, there have been an average of 6,100 illegal crossings per day. Interesting.
400 crossings
No, that is
today
not true.
than as we
That
had
is
at the
not
end
true.
of
We
Trump's
have
term
up to
after Biden's executive order.
14,000 crossings a day. The Biden-Harris administration put us back into what's called the Global Compact of Migration. They are now using an app where they use our refugee resettlement program to fly people into our country to different states. So for you to say that the Trump administration that did not have catch and release, that is not, and Biden put it back in. And then we also had Remain in Mexico, which on day 1 of Biden's administration, he wiped out.
Because it was ineffective. I mean, we could
Oh,
look
it
at,
was very
do
effective.
you mind if I talk real quick?
It's just propaganda. It's what you've heard from CNN and MSNBC.
Actually, how about I provide you a source that isn't CNN, isn't MSNBC, and it's actually a source from Donald Trump's rally. So remember when Donald Trump got shot in his ear? What did he have behind him?
It was the chart that showed the lowest crossings
Do you
in
mind
history.
if I talk about that chart?
I
So
have the
on that-
chart.
on
Should
the-
we bring it out?
You have the chart with you?
Yeah, I do.
Bring the chart out.
Can you hand me my purse, someone?
Like you have an actual picture of the chart.
I do.
Phenomenal.
Yo, shit, Trump supporters are like, I don't know how he has a chart, a picture of the chart. To be fair,
Let's look at the chart.
I guess I'm not
She's
mad.
prepared. This is
Maybe
great.
I'm overreacting.
Oh, it's on your phone. I thought that you had like an
Well,
actual.
it's a picture. We can hold it up to the camera if they want to see it.
Okay, well, I mean, well, maybe we could just reference the data on that chart. So you're referencing the Remain in Mexico policy. So that was one of Donald Trump's day ones. He only had increasing border numbers until the day he signed Title 42 into effect. Year by year, they only increase.
Is
The
that why
Remain in Mexico
is-
policy, the wall, it was all incredibly ineffective border legislation. He couldn't get Congress together to pass anything, so then he had to reappropriate
That's
DOD
not
funds
true.
to build the wall.
That's not true. Congress passed H.R. 2. It's been sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk since May of 2023. It was the one bill that would secure the border. Border Patrol has endorsed President Trump. Law enforcement has endorsed President Trump.
Okay.
The Biden administration and the Harris administration have failed this nation, and they have allowed this invasion of our country, and Americans are dying. And sorry, these gang members should not be here.
I have a question. So what do you say if we had an undocumented migrant that was like a felon, a sexual abuser, right, a violent offender, that they shouldn't be allowed in the country?
100%. None of these people should be without process.
Okay, so my question to you would be, well, then why do you want a criminal, felon, sexual abuser to run the country?
Because I believe that we're suffering from an extreme case of lawfare,
got
which
that.
I can prove. And, you know, when you look at, let's take, for instance, the New York case, the one that he's going to probably go to jail for, even though he's not guilty.
The 34 felonies?
The 34 felonies that they changed the statute of limitations in order to prosecute him. That they
no, you have your
changed.
cases confused. So they didn't change any statute of
Oh,
limitations?
yes, they did.
1 second.
Oh,
I
yes,
know what
they
you're
did.
referencing. If you'll just allow
Oh,
me.
yes, they
You'll
did.
just allow me.
But
30
not
seconds.
only
Do you mind if I
that-
just have 30 seconds real quick?
Well, we only have 40 seconds left.
I just
so
wanna
no,
clarify.
You can't have
They didn't
30
change-
seconds. You've
it-
got the seat the whole time.
Okay, we have 35 seconds left. What were his felonies for?
Okay, so let's not talk about that. Let's talk about
Bro,
the plain
he
and
does not
simple
let this
fact
guy talk.
that they moved the number 3 from Biden's DOJ to a state case. Let's talk about the fact that Mark Pomerantz, who worked in the Biden administration, basically pled the fifth 6 times when he said that he was talking to Bragg. And he would not talk about that. Alvin Bragg ran on getting Trump. Let's talk about Judge Merchant's daughter, Laura, who's making millions for the Harris administration and the Biden administration right now in order to prosecute Trump. That is recusal. It's going to get dropped at the Supreme Court. Alvin Bragg should have recused himself. Judge Merchant should have recused himself.
I like your power. My next claim is Donald Trump doesn't care about the American people.
I think the first thing I just think his argument wasn't the strongest, and then obviously he got into like weird directions, but not bad at all.
I completely disagree with you on that. That Trump doesn't.
There we go.
You're saying he doesn't care about the American people. I mean, while he was president, he was pushing
Why do all these Republicans got the same type of look and talking style? It's a little. It reminds me of. I'm sure we've all seen like think of SpongeBob, for example, right? You remember how SpongeBob, there was like all these different people who were around and talk like SpongeBob when he kind of became a normal guy. That's what this reminds me of. Like all these guys are legit clones of each other.
pro-economic policies, which were furthering the American economy. I mean, right now, if you go to a gas station, you're paying more money to fill up your car.
He is every
Going to the
Trump
grocery
talking.
store, you're paying more for meat, you're paying more for groceries, you're paying more for a lot of things. Taxes are higher right now. So why?
Taxes are higher right now. We're still under Donald Trump's tax code.
We're not completely. No, that's not true. That's not true. Because each individual state can impose their own taxes.
Federal
I'll give you.
taxes from the
I'm going to
federal
give you. I'm going to give you an
federal tax
example. In
policy.
Los Angeles County, they passed all these other measures, increasing quarter-cent sales tax here in Los Angeles County. And what do they do with the money? They misuse the money. They don't even use it to fix the streets. They allocate all this funding towards the homeless, billions of dollars, saying they're going to build all this, all these shelters. They're going to build public housing, and yet all the money goes to administrative costs. It goes into the pension system. So they're misusing the money. They're not using the money to actually
I
help
don't
people.
believe-
So
I don't
if you
believe
think
him
about
when he says
someone that's going to
that.
help people, Democrats have been promising people in the state of California that they're going to do something about the problem. Yet they have unlimited power here to do whatever they want. But yet we have thousands of homeless. The LA Times reported that there was 66,000 more homeless people in the last 7 years. That's the LA Times. That's a liberal magazine quoted. There's 66,000
7 years includes Donald Trump's presidency.
more homeless people in Los Angeles
Mind
County.
if I ask you a
alone.
question?
Go ahead.
So I've like a lot of reasons I'd like to bring up here why I'd say that Trump doesn't care about the American people, but you reference his economic policy, and we could reference that. So yeah, can you name like one economic policy that Donald Trump influenced to get passed that benefited the low and the middle class more than it benefited the top 1%?
Well, first of all, the Democrats passed all these policies.
Wait, just about Donald Trump. Can you name one policy he influenced to get passed that benefits the low and the middle class more than it benefited the top 1%?
Yeah,
while
he
he's
tried to, or during COVID, he tried to keep businesses open. I mean, Democrats were trying to close down all their states.
Can you
that
name a
put
policy?
Businesses that
Sorry.
they put.
Hey man, he's like, bro, talking to a Trump supporter. He tried to keep these businesses open. I mean, he did lockdowns too.
No. They put a lot of businesses out of business during COVID. During the past years that COVID was in existence, all the states that were liberal, Democrat-run states, have controlled a lot of the process here in the state of California. Like,
Okay.
I'll give you an example.
You didn't answer my- I'm so
In the
sorry.
state of
You didn't
California,
answer my
Gavin
question.
Newsom, in the state of California, Gavin Newsom shut down this state. Ron DeSantis did not shut down his state. Yet you have businesses here that were small that went out of business. Yet you have the state of Florida, the majority of businesses stayed in business, did not go out of business. The only businesses that went out of business, that stayed in business, were corporations like McDonald's, Burger King, and Walmart.
Okay,
so,
sir,
and
with
by
all-
the
with
way,
all due
and by the
respect,
way-
you literally
and by
didn't
the
answer
way,
my question.
The Democrats were benefiting those businesses because they were voting in favor of them.
Okay, with all due respect, you literally didn't answer my question. I asked you to name a policy that Trump influenced to get passed that
But yet
benefited.
you're the one that called me racist earlier, so I'm supposed to answer you?
Okay, well, I mean, if you don't want to have a productive dialogue with me here, I don't see what your point of even showing up to the episode would be.
Well, productive is not calling someone racist either, right?
That guy got sensitive. Yeah, keep him off. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's hear it.
Howdy.
Oh,
Hi.
George.
So maybe we could go about it this way. Can I give you my reasons why I'd say that he doesn't care about the American people and get your thoughts?
Let me, if you don't mind, let me start.
Okay.
Is honestly, the question's dumb. The statement's dumb, because
Of course it is.
it's one-sided and it's an opinion on what we think he believes or he feels.
So this prompt says Donald Trump doesn't care about the American people. I would like to give you my
Now,
reason. why.
well, I'll actually answer the other thing you mentioned, a policy that Donald Trump pushed for that benefited low and middle income people.
More than it benefited the top 1%.
His tax policies. And I know this for a fact because I'm middle low income. And everyone I know that's middle low income, actually, I don't know that many. Everyone makes more money than me.
Okay, do you mind if I...
No, the
Mind if I hop in here?
only people I know of that complain about Trump's tax policies are those that make a reasonably high amount of money. There is nobody I know that makes over like 200 something K that doesn't complain about his tax policy.
what are
So
you talking
I don't know what
about?
you make doing this. It's probably more than I make. I kind of wish I did what you do to a degree. But if you're making more than 200K,
Can I clap in here real
then,
quick?
then I'm sure you
can I
can complain, but
clap in here?
I'm benefiting and I make less than you probably.
Okay, so first of all, you said that Trump's tax policy benefited the low and middle class more than it benefited rich people.
Mm-hmm.
That claim is false. 83% of the tax cuts in the bill went to the top 1%, went to people making over $400,000 a year, and it cost the American taxpayer $1.9 trillion through debt-related spending, and it only is going to lead to an average annual GDP increase of
According to the Center for American Progress, if the Trump tax cuts are extended, those who make $500,000 a year or more receive the biggest benefit, while those 50,000 less will receive the smallest benefit.
No, 2%. Please
Percent, you say.
please allow me to finish. Right. So it is the case that no, that didn't benefit the low and the middle class more so than the top 1%, and only is leading to a greater income inequity.
I don't believe you, and I don't agree with you, and I've
Okay,
seen
so that's
no
coming from-
data. I've seen no data to support that.
Okay, so that's coming from the Tax Policy Foundation. That's coming from like other other economic sources that we would find online to be able to distribute how much it costs.
Nice. Pretty objective fact checking. I respect it.
Okay. So is it all right if I give you my reasons why I'd say he doesn't care about the American people?
In 10 seconds or less.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like in order to have productive dialogue, right, we have to be able to distinguish why I believe the things that I say.
Okay.
Why you
And then I'll
disagree.
let you know why I believe the things that I do.
Okay, so the reason I'd say that Donald Trump doesn't care about the American people is because he has incessantly placed himself above the American people. One of the best examples of this was in 2020 when he denied the outcome of the election and then he attempted to stage a coup against our government in an attempt to rig the outcome of the 2020 election by sending fake certificates of ascertainment to Congress to be certified as real. That was the greatest internal attack on our government since the Civil War. Another example would be the border. He has consistently placed himself above the American people in that respect. He torpedoed Langford's bill in the Senate that would have specifically brought an end to the crisis 2 years ago
you've got
because he didn't want to give the Democrats a win.
Let's slow
and then
down.
Another example.
Wait,
would
no.
be his incessant-
No. Let's slow down because you just put out so much. And let's
course.
unpack that a little bit.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing that one thing I would like to say, does Donald Trump care about the American people? Donald Trump went to East Palestine. Joe Biden waited 6 months. Okay?
Okay.
Donald Trump went to the military families of the soldiers that were killed at Abbey Gate. Joe Biden forgot their names.
What?
Donald Trump went and visited the people whose families were killed by migrants that were criminals. Joe Biden won't mention their names. Donald
There we
Trump
go.
let me, an average American citizen, go to his house 3 times.
Okay, do you mind responding to my reasons why?
Okay, let's start with reason 1.
Cool.
Every election in history has had challenges, including Bush v. Gore. There have always been alternate electorals. I believe that January 6th helped Democrats well more than it ever did Republicans. You know why? Because it stopped the debate on the floor. And I, as a Republican, wanted to see that debate on the floor that day. I had problem with the elections. In 2022, my son's vote didn't arrive and I was a candidate.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So you do affirm that Trump sent fake slates of electors to 7 different states.
They
to
were
cast
not fake. There's always alternate slates of electors in every single
That is not
election.
true. That is not
That
true.
is true.
That is not true.
That is
State political parties select a state of potential electors before the general election. They officially become electors only if their prominent candidate wins their state's popular vote.
true.
you
I
give me
worked
an-
on the
okay.
Ron Paul campaign.
is it
before
possible-
when you were like 5?
Is it possible
this
that
has happened all the time?
Okay, yeah. Could you give me another example of a sitting U.S. president not agreeing with the outcome of the 2020 election, then going to the DOJ? Trump told Bill Barr to announce widespread voter fraud when there wasn't any.
They didn't investigate it. They didn't investigate
do you
it.
know-
Every single
They did.
case
They
was
did. There were
every
63
single
court
case
cases.
that were dismissed on standing.
because they didn't have sufficient evidence. To
No,
prove that it occurred.
because the judges said
What?
they
Some
never
were
saw the
dismissed on
evidence.
standing.
Okay, I'm gonna
They
go to
never
tell you what
saw
happened
the
in 2020
evidence.
election. So
Okay,
Donald
well,
Trump
you're
formed
going to
his
tell me
own-
what you think happened, but I'm going to
Donald-
tell you that you're
Due to
wrong.
the,
Okay, one moment, ma'am. Donald
having
Trump
enough
formed,
evidence.
an election integrity committee where he appointed his people and gave them millions
And
of
what's
dollars.
happening
You mind
now?
if I finish?
No, I do mind because you
Okay,
know
ma'am,
what?
if you can allow me to
There's-
finish, we
there's-
can't have a productive conversation
Well,
here.
we can't have a productive conversations when you have an entire 20 minutes and filibuster the whole thing.
Okay, well, if you want to talk,
So-
go ahead, but you're not allowing me the time
Okay,
to
but you're-
demonstrate why
you're-
I believe in what I do.
Okay, but you're not allowing me to say basic fact of what has happened in this instance. Every person that runs for election has the opportunity to challenge an electoral process. That is not illegal. What's happening now is you've got attorneys that were looking into the election fraud, which the Biden DOJ is now prosecuting, having their law licenses removed. We are watching communism in live action. And you know what? I want you to have a future.
Can you define communism?
Yeah, basically it's mob rule. It's Marxism. It's mob rule. It's
False. Literally all wrong. Communism is a stateless, classless, moneyless society.
okay.
He's getting fed up. I kind of, hey man, that's what happens.
Welcome in. Doing all right.
Trump's administration versus Biden's, objectively 2016 to 2020, and then under Biden so far, up to date. Objectively, the economy was better under Trump. Inflation was as high as, I believe, 9% under Biden. It's destroying the middle class, and then it's also putting people in more poverty. So how does that make Trump not be in support of American people if it's breaking down the middle class, putting people in more poverty?
Yeah.
So things in the grocery store are 4 times higher to pay for. People are having harder time to put food on the table for their families.
Yeah.
During the Biden administration versus Trump. So I want you to
Yeah, of
kinda
course.
explain.
Well, let's start off here. Do you think that the Biden-Harris administration caused inflation?
Yeah, because under Trump's administration and the policies he induced, inflation was never that high.
Okay,
And then after
so-
COVID hit and
I mean, this is like the average citizen. Like, they don't understand why the things are the way they are, which in part, that is my criticism of how we present information and educate the populace, and we need to do just a better job at it.
Biden's administration took over, everything skyrocketed. Gas
Okay.
prices, grocery stores,
So
everything.
your argument here is because it happened in the country while they were president, they caused it. So my question to you is, did Donald Trump cause the highest rate of unemployment that we've had since the Great Depression in August of 2020 at 14.8% simply because it happened under his administration?
No, simply because people couldn't leave their home, which was, causing people to
And now we're
fired from
introducing
their
external
jobs.
variables. So in the same way COVID caused, right, that high rate of unemployment that we had under Trump's term, COVID also caused the global inflation that we saw onset at the beginning of the Biden-Harris administration. This didn't happen locally in the U.S. This inflation happened all around the globe. But a fun fact here, the Biden-Harris administration actually ushered in the quickest response from the inflation onset by the pandemic out of any other country in the G7.
I had another point, which was that.
Appreciate you for coming up, man.
He probably didn't even care. He didn't even listen to him.
What I've noticed, because I work in retail for some seasons and I've seen a huge bloodshed of Colombians coming in. Okay, we just got to be really realistic here about the economy. So yes, I think that kind of blaming causation and kind of correlating that to the current president, it's a little bit of a slippery slope. However, I think that when you look at the border and the way that everything has been coming in with migration, of course that the economy became better. Why? Because a lot of Colombians came in, right? And they started working and they started inputting more taxes. All these fake socials that they get, they start contributing to the tax money. They pay more taxes every year, and the government basically hides this by grabbing an app, and they basically use that as an ankle bracelet replacement so that people don't find out. Instead of putting
Where are these conspiracy theories coming from? Like, I am so genuinely curious to see how people come up with the stuff they come up with. I wish I can kind of see what they see, right? So we can get to these like weird conspiratorial situations, because they tell me these things. Like, I'm like, and I think to myself, it's very possible that either one, you're completely misremembering, two, you're mischaracterizing, or three, you're just lying. And I just need to see it to properly contextualize the information that is being given to me.
an ankle
gonna skip
bracelet on
ahead
people's
because-
ankles,
oh.
they hide the fact that they're allowing all these
Told the biggest lie that any sitting president has ever told with the denial of the 2020 election. And what is the Achilles
Let me go to the next one. Kamala Harris would be a much better president than Donald Trump. All right, let's hear him out.
I don't believe that Kamala Harris would be a better president than President Trump. And the reason why I believe that is because Kamala Harris has had many chances. When she was a district attorney in San Francisco, she convicted more people of minor crimes than any other DA of San Francisco. And I know this too because I lived in San Francisco for a period of time, and I understand the criminal justice system to a certain extent. So Kamala Harris, if you have her as president, she's going to go after people for minor offenses. She's going to try to convict
Base.
people for even marijuana, for an example.
Base.
I mean, come on. Most people in this country have already been past this whole issue with cannabis and everything. And I think that's something that now that should be
Kamala's going
overlooked,
after
and it should
people
be
who
something
smoke
that should be
weed, for
legalized
sure.
on a federal level as well. But I do believe that Kamala Harris, if she convicted people of small petty stuff like people having a minor amount of marijuana and had the highest conviction rate in San Francisco, how can you have someone like that as president? And she also was married into the Getty family. Jean Paul Getty is an elite family in the state of California. So how is it that you're gonna say, oh, Kamala Harris is
Donald Trump
better
is
than President
Part of
Trump?
an elite family too.
Of course. First, let's respond to a couple of your claims there. How many people did she convict? Not a clue. 45. And what did she do in 2014?
45. You're saying she convicted only 45 people of possession of marijuana?
Yes. And what did she do?
That is not true. That
Vice President Harris won convictions in 1,956 felony and misdemeanor marijuana cases, according to Bay Area News Group. 45 people convicted were sentenced to state prison. So 45 people actually went to prison.
That is not true, that she convicted only 45 people of marijuana. If she was a district attorney and she had other DAs in the district attorney's office
Do you mind if I finish talking?
prosecuting those small crimes,
Okay, sir. Do you mind if
she had more than 45 convictions in that
To
office
be fair,
alone.
he's only
So, yeah, she only
just
had
go
over-
there.
You've had a lot of time to talk. I mean, you had the whole time. I really don't have a lot of time here. But so what I'm saying is,
I just want to be able to finish this
go
point
ahead.
out.
Go ahead. You're
Without.
saying 45 convictions, but you're not giving me facts.
So while she was DA, it is a.
I mean, he's the person in the middle, so I don't know. Of course, he's
Welcome
gonna
in.
talk the most.
Hi.
Hi. So do you mind if I give you my reasons why I think that Harris would be a better president?
If you want.
Cool. So there's two main categorical reasons why I say Harris would be better than Trump. The first category is character. The second category is policy. Let's
Don't
start off
fall
with
for
character.
her
First of all,
charms, my boy.
Trump is a sexual abuser. Trump is a felon. Trump is a fraudster. Trump is an election denier. He's a dictator on day one, wannabe
Yo,
fascist. Okay.
yo,
Kamala Harris is
you
none
can't
of those.
take
Kamala
someone
Harris wants to
serious.
protect and preserve
Just blind
democracy. She
yourself.
wants to fight for the
I
freedoms
would not
of
be able
all
to take
Americans,
anything serious
especially
if
the
she makes
170
faces
million
like that.
American women and girls. And then we could reference policy next. If you want to respond to character, go for it. If you want me to hop straight into policy, I could do that too.
Well, starting with character, I technically do not think she's a good person. Speaking of which, if we're bringing up stuff from the past, we can say she slept with Willie Brown, broke up a family just to get her job. And while she was there, she used a firm that was putting people in jail that had false positives on drug tests. And she knew they had false positives. She admitted to that. And she was still putting mainly black and brown people in jail. Considering I'm both, that is very much a big issue for me. And also that a woman shouldn't represent, they should just sleep to the top for their job. They should actually work hard for it. I generally don't think that she's a good representative. There's plenty of other women out there.
Yeah, I have a
that
question. How many votes did she get in a run for AG? Do you know? No, how many votes did she get
We're
in a run?
talking about character, though.
Of course.
That's
We'll talk
character
about-
and morals.
We're-
And
we'll-
if we're
that's-
mentioning character and morals here, she's clearly not a good person.
I'm
and
responding to your
just like
claim.
you had mentioned all that stuff about Trump, which could be true.
I'm
She's
referencing
an
your claim
adulterer
that she.
and a family.
I'm
wrecker.
referencing your claim that she slept to the top. How many votes did she get when she was running for AG and DA in the state of California?
But that has nothing to do with the fact
It does.
that
She got
slept with someone.
4.5 million votes in total. 80 million for her run for AG or DA. I don't remember which
So
one. And then 4.4 million for the other one. I have a question. You're saying that she slept her way to the top. How many of those 4.5 million people that voted for her did she have to sleep with?
Well, obviously we're in California, and this is pretty corrupt, but to say that she needed the votes of most people that matter, which is the person she slept with, could actually overturn and hide these votes just like
Base. The person she slept with hid the votes and got her to the top. It's very very interesting. Very interesting indeed. All right. Let's hear this one.
Off by saying that you seem to attack Trump for his character, but then when Kamala is attacked for her character, it doesn't matter
So why do you think that Kamala Harris is a bad person?
for reasons that have been stated.
Can you repeat them?
She's slept with people to get up to her ranking. She hasn't really done all too much as vice president, in my opinion.
I would like to say that is false. She's passed more tie-breaking votes in the Senate than any VP in American history. She's also helped the Biden-Harris administration influence some of the most monumental legislation in modern U.S. history.
Right.
I'm going to name 4 pieces of legislation that the Biden-Harris administration influenced to get passed that benefited the low and the middle class more than rich people, and I want to see if you could do the same for Donald Trump while he was president. They influenced the PACT Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Bill, and the Inflation Reduction Act. If you'd like, I could explain to you how those benefited the low and the middle class more so than the top 1%, but now I'll just simply ask you that same question. Can you name one bill that Trump influenced
No way you can.
to get passed that benefited the low and middle class more so than rich people?
I really can't. Cause
So then
Smart, like
You know, it's interesting when people have like strong opinions and they don't really know anything. It's
okay.
that's smooth. You just kind of slid
Thank
into
you,
the
thank you. I think a lot. Sorry. Okay.
That's smooth. You just kind of slid
Thank
into
you,
the
thank you. I think a lot of what we're hearing from you right now is just what I call book smart. Like you probably are more knowledgeable than a lot of us on these policies and all that. That's not necessarily
You're about to say something so dumb. Please inform me.
applicable to real life living. If we
Policies that affect people don't matter to real life living. Okay, that's a stupid statement.
look at in my opinion, one of the most important roles as a president is
So the things that I care about, my opinions about things that I hear, I don't care about the real information. I don't care about the facts. I don't care what the actual policies do. It's just like if it doesn't sound right to me, then that's all that matters. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my life.
to keep our country safe. Kamala Harris, she's the border czar, and she has completely
So if I give you a bunch of information regarding immigration, I guarantee you it doesn't matter.
failed at that. She's let in millions and millions of illegal immigrants. And you've been asking us a lot of pointers, so I want to ask you, do you know what the average amount of fentanyl per pound that has come through during Biden's administration versus the Trump administration?
No, I'd assume that it's much higher under the Biden-Harris
It is.
administration. Do you know what amount of drugs processed across the southern border are processed by U.S. citizens?
But I'm talking about illegals right now. So I asked you a question.
Okay.
So during Trump's administration, there was on average about 2,500 pounds of fentanyl that came across the border.
Okay.
In my
Sees 2,400 pounds of fentanyl smuggled into the U.S. in fiscal year 2019 and 4,500 in 2020. Both years were during the Trump administration. During the Biden administration, the average is more than 17,000 pounds per year, and it is high of 27,000 pounds in 2023. My issue with this is obviously COVID and Title 42 been existing. So, I mean, these are really hard to really determine, and it's annoying when people just ignore what Title 42
my opinion, that's
does.
2,500 pounds too much.
Yeah.
During the Biden and Harris administration, it's exceeding 14,000 pounds per year. Where do you think that's going? That's going to our youth, that's going to high schoolers, college students, that's going to adults. These innocent people are dying because of what is happening. And if you look at her, I think it was just this past month, they just admitted that they have lost over 300,000 illegal children. Where do you think these children are going? They're trafficked. And I'm extremely passionate about human trafficking. I think it's one of the most important focuses that we need to have right now. And in my opinion, again, and in my experience within human trafficking, the conservatives are the ones pushing this. Kamala's ignoring it. Kamala's not the one going to visit.
Don't you guys just want to send all the children back across the border? They're pushing for human trafficking, but they don't care about migrant children. Or they don't seem like they care about migrant children. I don't know. It seems like you conflated two things, and that's why I didn't really
Visit the border. She went and visited the border. She went to the only part of the border that is safe, that they're not coming through. And she said, we don't have a problem here. Nobody's coming through. That's BS. She's lying, and you say Trump's lie. I hate all kinds of lies. But when you can say
You guys
Trump's an
are not
avid liar, you
consistent.
got
I
to
don't
look at how
believe you.
Kamala's lying. During her speech at the DNC last week, she was saying that those individuals at January 6th were armed individuals with an intention of shooting people in the Capitol. That is not true. So I can admit where Trump has lied in the past. Everybody lies. That's not good. But you also
I
need to.
don't believe you can admit when he lied in the past, because if I went down the line of questioning and start bringing up his lies, you would dismiss it. Absolutely, you would. That's the problem. And I don't know about this guy, but the reason why it's so annoying is you have people on the left that will take accountability for Kamala's lies, because I do think a lot of her rhetoric recently and a lot of the left's rhetoric has been over exaggerated and lying a little bit. But you have more people taking accountability and willing to correct the people on the left. The Trump supporters that blindly just believe everything that Trump believes, and someone like you who thinks it's a lie, you won't say anything to that Trump supporter. You won't. So that's why I can't take you guys seriously, because I don't see the accountability on the right.
Have the balls to admit where Kamala has lied, where Biden has lied, where their administration has lied.
Yeah, so first of all, I think that it is important to hold all politicians, everybody in a position of power, accountable. I'm not going to sit here and say that Biden has never lied a day in his life. I'm not going to sit here and say that Harris has never lied a day in his life. I, can't confirm that Harris said that at the DNC or said that at the southern border.
It was
but
filmed,
if she
so.
did say those things, yes, those would be lies. Now, you want to talk about this.
Wouldn't that be a question of her character then?
Yeah, of course. But what I'm voting for here isn't going to be the candidate that doesn't lie at all. It's going to be the candidate that would lie less within this respect, and no one lies more than Donald Trump.
So
now
why
back
do
to
you
our
believe
conversation.
that? Why do you believe that character affects somebody's, impact as a leader?
So he wasn't even listening to what he said. He decided to respond in the midst of him saying what he was saying. It's like, you're not really trying to.
Yeah, sure, because I think when we're voting for someone,
The thing is, this kid has the knowledge. Don't let these people direct the conversation just because they're older.
we have a leader, right? This isn't just someone who's going to try to impact our lives in good ways through policy, but it's also someone that we'd want to be ourselves. We are championing these two people, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We want to see virtues reflected in them that we would also like reflected in us. And when we're platforming Donald Trump, who's been held civilly liable for sexual abuse, has sexualized a fifth grader on CBS in 1992, has cheated on 3 of his wives, one with a porn star, and was convicted of 34 felonies, and tried to stage a coup to overthrow our government, we don't see those good virtues reflected. You said you wanted to talk about the border. Do you mind if I ask you a question about that?
Go for it.
Phenomenal. So Biden and Harris, they attempted to influence bipartisan border legislation in 2023. It was Lankford's bill, who was a Republican that was also Trump endorsed. This was a good border act. It would have phenomenally reduced the impact of the crisis. It would have reduced crossings. It would have made the asylum-seeking processes quicker. It was a good bill. But what happened was Trump called the Republicans in the House and the Senate and told them to vote against it. How can you say that Donald Trump cares about the southern border when he told Republicans in Congress to vote against this bill so the crisis would continue, and he could campaign on that today to convince people like you to vote for him?
Real quick, everybody. So, during Trump's administration, in exchange for $25 million to build a border wall that would protect our country.
I'm not going to address what he said at all. He's going to completely ignore it. This is my issue with Trump supporters sometimes. Where's the engagement? Where's the conversation?
He had an act that he wanted to pass that would allow illegal immigrant children that have graduated throughout high school to be accepted through citizenship.
Do you mind answering my question?
No, because you're just asking education policy questions. This isn't impacting America. So
how else do presidents impact America apart from policy and executive orders?
So Trump wanted to pass this law that would give these graduating illegal.
I can't respect. You don't care about anybody else's opinions. That's not yours. She's actually, even though she's a little brainwashed, she can
Hello.
lie.
Howdy, welcome back.
Well, okay, so you keep bringing up the border and you keep bringing up the Senate bill.
Lankford's bill, absolutely.
The Senate bill never passed.
You want to know why?
What did pass was H.R. 2, which again has been sitting on Schumer's desk, which actually closed the border. Talking to Brandon Judd, president of Border Patrol, what I can tell you is the Senate bill was better than what it is now, with 14,000 people coming through the border every day and 300,000 migrant children missing, feared sold into sex slavery. Now, H.R. 2 did close the border, and that is the one that actually passed the House that Schumer has ignored. So I'm really sick of hearing, oh, Trump stopped the Senate bill. The Senate bill didn't pass.
Do you know why?
Because it was a bad bill. It codified the invasion.
Okay, so first of all, no, it was not a bad bill. And second of all, the reason it didn't pass is because Trump called the Republicans in Congress and told them not to pass it. Right?
Well,
we see
Congress
once like, do you mind if I
Congress doesn't vote on
finish
Senate
without
bills.
interruption?
Congress does not vote on Senate bills.
Yes, we would see that Senate, like if a bill is made in the Senate, it'd go to the House, back to the Senate.
Exactly, and it never made it out of the Senate, so therefore it's
It went
mute
to the
and
House.
void.
It went to the House, right? And
No, it never made it out of the Senate. I talked to Senator Mike Lee about that. It never got out of the Senate because it was a bad bill. However,
Do you mind if I
HR
finish here, though? I just want to make
HR 2 did
Ma'am,
get
ma'am,
out
do you
of
mind if I finish about
HR
that?
2 did get out of the House.
And with all due respect,
With all due
like the
respect, you don't want to hear about HR 2
I would
that
love to hear-
actually secured the election,
I would
the
love
border.
to. I would love to hear about HR
You
2.
literally just spoke about HR 2. You want to keep talking. That's all that's going on.
However, I would also like to finish what I was saying about.
Well,
Lincoln's
everybody's
border bill
heard for
without
the
interrupting.
last 19 minutes what you had to say
Okay.
about this. Okay, I got a minute. As far as
So instead of everybody debate the teen, it's no, shut up, teen, listen to me. You're not allowed to talk because you're a teenager. Hey, man, I wouldn't let her talk to me like that. I'm not.
Kamala Harris being better than Trump, that's who we're talking about.
So that
Now,
was in June of
secondly,
2021. She went
so
in
Kamala
July of
Harris-
2021.
so
I
Kamala
would like to
Harris-
preface here
No.
that the Biden administration has passed an executive order on the border, and we're
Because
now
it's
at
an
lower daily
election
crossings
year.
today
Because
than
it's
we
an
were at the end
election
of Trump's
year.
term. And
That's
no,
the
it's not just
only
because
reason.
it's an
Yes,
election
it is.
term.
They do it
tried to
every
influence
election year.
Langford's bill through the Senate
It was
and through
a
the House.
bad bill.
Then Trump called them and told them to
It
shoot it
never
down.
left the
If you were
Senate.
starving,
It
and
never
someone-
left the
one second, ma'am.
Senate.
If you were
No, you 1 second. We got 6 seconds. We're not going to
Okay, I feel like I can't get anywhere with you.
Well, I
because
feel
you're
like I can't
incessantly
get
interrupting
anywhere with
me.
you because you.
So how do we find middle ground? We do that by
How
allowing
we-
each other to speak without interruption. I'm willing to do that for you. Are you willing to do that for me?
Super fun.
I wouldn't shake her hand. She's disrespectful.
My next claim is conservatives don't actually care about family values.
Damn. That's a harsh statement. All right, let's see. Let's see who's gonna piss off first. There we go.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that at all whatsoever. Us conservatives, main core issue is caring about family, keeping the family unit together.
You mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
So then why do you turn around and champion Donald Trump, who's cheated on 3 of his wives, one with a porn star, and has ongoing civil litigation against him in which he was determined that he was guilty of sexual abuse?
And that's something that's very personal, and you have to have been there in order to know what exactly goes on. Marriages are very tough. There's something that's very difficult. And again,
I care about family values, but but I also like absolutely obsessed with this guy who cheats on his wives. It's interesting. Very interesting.
we don't know what happened, you know. Yeah, he has failed marriages, but many people have failed marriages.
Okay, do you mind if I ask you another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you said that you really care about the family unit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't see how like any conservative or Trump supporter could say that they care about the family unit because of how hard y'all fight for pro-life legislation. So voting for pro-life legislation without good reason, what this leads to is the destruction of the family unit. You're shifting the American focus away from financially well-off adults that consent to start a family, that desire to have kids, to forcing 18, 19, 20-year-old boys and girls into starting a family because the state isn't allowing the woman the access to healthcare that she deserves. It leads to higher rates of poverty, it leads to lower rates of employment, lower rates of education, and lower qualities of life, all things considered. Another point would be, right, conservative stance on being anti-IVF, right? I think that IVF serves as a savior for like
abortion and Donald Trump's wives he cheats on his wives. Interesting route of argument. Okay.
For family units that are wanted to be by many of American citizens.
Your first point of being for pro-life is that is a human life. That is a child in and of itself. I always hear constantly the argument of, you know, if men were the ones having babies, then it would be a different situation. Maybe, but that's not the case. The case is that women are the ones that bear children, and that is a life unto itself, and therefore it is deserving of its own human rights and its own human life. And you brought up many points, which
Okay,
can you repeat for me so I can?
Yeah, of course. If you feel free to cut me off if I'm talking too fast, or if you want me to slow down.
Yeah,
and
of
go over
course.
these points. I want to make sure that we could try to have.
Oh, yeah, me too,
conversation
me
here.
too.
My other points were being anti-IVF. I think that IVF allows American citizens to start a family when they wouldn't otherwise be able to. Being anti-IVF prevents them from starting a family. Another point would be being anti-LGBTQ+, saying that you care about family values unless it's two men or unless it's two women, and then it's morally abominable. And then, the third point would be just championing Donald Trump, who's cheated on 3 of his wives, one with a porn star, has sexualized little girls, and has been held civilly liable for sexual abuse.
Don't forget how he touches his daughter weirdly. Ugh.
Sure. So,
Cringe.
on one hand, I kind of agree with you because I don't think that the average conservative cares about family enough, but I would say that conservatives care a lot more about the family unit than liberals and then people on the left, especially like it was brought up when it comes to the pro-life issue, when it comes to promoting the whole LGBT, like all of these things are generally anti-family, and liberals are also generally very individualistic, while conservatives have always been more on the side of conserving the family unit.
Okay, I would strongly disagree that liberals are going to be more individualistic. If we just look at Trump and the policy he passed while he was president, can you name one policy he influenced to get passed that benefited the low or the middle class more so than the top 1%?
You're talking about conservatives in general, not Donald Trump. If you frame the question, Donald Trump doesn't actually care about family values, then sure. But you're just repeating this question. It doesn't really do much for me. Does this guy have a good answer? I don't think that will be productive.
I think this one's interesting. So first, I also wanted to know why you think Democrats are better at supporting family values than conservatives.
Of course, great question. So first of all, we look at this from an economic perspective.
Sure.
I'd say caring for the low and middle class, promoting social benefits. A good example would be the child tax
they're not
credit.
even
Kamala
allowing
Harris wants to raise that to
explain his
$6,000
point.
for every
I have to
newborn
interrupt
to
you.
a
They're going to vote
1-year-old.
me out soon. I'm going to make my point, then they're going to vote me out. I'm going to go. Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I think what's really interesting, and I wanted you to bring it up, but I'm just going to bring it up again. You were talking about when to start a family. I think that's really interesting. I think the choice to start a family is when you have sex. Personally, and someone will probably be more informational than me about this. Starting a family.
Let's kind of backtrack a little bit because Donald Trump himself, I think he's kind of a new wave of republicanism, and a lot of people kind of seem to forget that. So conservatives, yes, the old Republican Party, they did see that the old-fashioned traditional values maybe were not ideal for certain family dynamic situations that you're claiming, gay, lesbian, whatever. But I think the Republican Party has definitely changed its viewpoint and its value system quite a little bit. And now with laws and legislations, I can pretty much guarantee you that almost every Republican in this room would not be opposed to LGBT rights and people marrying people of the same sex. So
Can you guarantee that? Oh man, I would love to ask a question and see how much people here would actually support it. Can you? Are you sure? Are you sure?
claim. And then if we want to talk about family values, the
That's a lot of
Democrats,
hope.
they tend to hypersexualize children a lot in Hollywood. I work in the entertainment industry and I constantly see many investors constantly pushing for these rhetorics, and there's nothing to be said about it. And unfortunately, I'm exposing myself a little bit by just saying this because it's very controversial for me to work in an industry that's constantly fighting for children to consistently be human trafficked in Hollywood. I have so many friends that have tried to be sexualized under this propaganda, and it's really saddening.
Why are you blaming Democrats for
I
that,
can
though?
agree because I used to be a liberal myself, so I can side with you on certain things. But my mother, who grew up in a very democratic vision, she herself also views that abortion is very sinful and it's unfortunate. I can agree with you on the fact that people should have a right to their own body, and we're not saying that they shouldn't. That's why, hence, Donald Trump did state many times that the state should be involved with those legislations and not himself. In situations such as people who are raped and all of
I feel like there's a little bit of conflation, which is why it's a weird situation. I think it would be better if we can determine the values that Donald Trump are that are not familial versus the values that are conservatives that are more general, because there are people like Michael Knowles who are pro-choice to the point where he would support a universal national abortion ban. So
Of those nuances, it's yes, go ahead.
So just a quick question about abortion.
Yes.
Do you agree with like giving the states the ability to legislate on that?
Well, we give the states legislation on many
Okay,
things.
so you do agree. So do you think
Correct.
that abortion is murder?
I think it is because.
So do you think that we should leave murder up to the states?
Well, I think leaving the murder cases up to Democrats is a little appalling. If you look at the crime rates that are happening with all these children being killed and murdered constantly, Catholics believe that when you kill a child, that's basically the ultimate mortal sin. And there are many sins that we can discuss. Donald Trump having affairs, yes. Nobody's denying all those cases, but at the end of the day, the biggest mortal sin that we talk about in the Bible is killing another human. So a human who has a heartbeat in the womb, yes. I'm not opposed to people having the right to their body, but I think at the end of the day, if you were to ask yourself if God was real, you better hope and wish that he isn't, because you go to heaven and he asks you why you killed all those humans. It's compared to genocide with Hitler.
Here's my thoughts on that. So first of all, like I don't want to tell you that your religion is false. That is not my goal. In fact, that's not what I'm going to do.
Of course not.
I want to take a different approach, right?
Okay.
So I'd say that Christianity is inherently faith-based, right? It's something that you can't justify outside of your own faith. It's something that has a lot of philosophical issues, right? It's something that exists in a realm apart from how we would conventionally justify policy that we'd want to pass. Say when we're justifying economic policy, we'd evaluate its outcomes. We'd look at what it costs to the people, and we'd use that information, that empirical evidence, to justify if it's good or bad. But when you legislate on the basis of your faith, it doesn't allow you that room, because you're just kind of using your speculatory beliefs to justify the legislation.
Correct.
And I'd say one last thing.
I have issues with him saying what he just said there. I won't kind of go on a tirade now, but I'm not religious either, but I do think we need to kind of readjust how we're thinking about certain things, especially concepts that are trying to be more logical than emotional. And when I use the word emotional, what I'm truly meaning, and the reason why I didn't put it, is because it's hard to judge an objective moral principle for the most part, and it's easier to judge emotional responses to certain stimuli. The reason why I say morals in this situation, to kind of understand my point, is because in logic can only provide you so much in proving the horrors or the goodness of actions at the end of the day. You can, especially since logic can't be perfectly applied in terms of breaking down things in substance towards every single person. A lot of people do not know how to characterize why they believe certain things, why certain things are the way they are, but they know how they feel about a certain thing because those are innate in principle. So I do think it gets a little bit dangerous when it comes to applying everything to a logic-based formula, because morals and our vision of goodness and bad are things that can be beyond logic, i.e., for example, knowing that slavery is not okay, right? Because you can logic your way towards pro and anti-slavery. So hopefully all that made sense.
Here, right? During antebellum era slavery here at home in the U.S., we saw Christian nationalists using Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46 of the Bible to justify the enslavement of black people at the time, taking away their rights. So my question to you would be, what is the logical difference between Christians 200 years ago using the Bible to justify the enslavement of black people and a Christian today using the Bible to take away access to healthcare from women? I don't think we could think of a logical distinction there, and that's why I'd say faith is best to be practiced in the confines of your own home and your own life.
So then why did Gavin Newsom ban people from practicing and praying in their own home? During the Biden administration, Gavin Newsom locked everyone down, fined them $900 just for practicing their religion. There are many people in Pasadena. There's a Pasadena church locally, and they were fined $900. Gavin Newsom prioritized gyms, facilities.
The Supreme Court ruled that the California could not impose restrictions on religious gatherings and household. The gatherings included Bible studies and prayer meetings. California argued the restrictions applied to all gatherings, including secular, non-religious ones. I'm confused whether or not he actually did this, though. This fact check, some of these fact checks suck. Some of these they're unbiased, but they don't really tell me any potent facts based off the point that is being made.
Recreational centers, and Catholic nuns were describing their distress over this. So what happened to freedom of speech? What happened to democracy? Because clearly you guys are constantly promoting that, right? But it seems like it's a communistic approach to our society.
Okay, I'm gonna move on from this. Is there another prompt? Okay, I no longer care about this one. I'm low-key. Hey, she sounds like she's about to get fiery. Let's hear.
Very patriotic. Let's talk about the actions of the Democrats being
to pressure Senate in to postponing the votes. The second reason I say this is because Donald Trump sent fake slates of electorates
Democrats
to 7
are more patriotic than Republicans. Okay.
different states to cast fake certificates of because while he pressures, well, this 2020 election of every room null by internal attack.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Okay, so really bold, clear statement that Democrats are very patriotic. Let's talk about the actions of the Democrats being very glorious in loving our country.
Well, I would like to clarify.
Yeah,
My claim is not that Democrats are very patriotic. It is that they are more patriotic than Republicans, but I apologize for interrupting you.
Okay, no, but I would like clarity on what are those actions, because in my understanding of Democrats being really patriotic is destroying the nuclear family, burning down flags, burning down buildings.
BLM and pro-Palestinian. So you're equating extreme actions from extreme people to a whole party? Am I allowed to do that when it comes to like Nazis or Christian nationalists? I think that would be pretty inappropriate. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, we see just destruction in our cities. Did you like see the trash and all the homelessness going out in LA? What is patriotic about supporting all of that? What is patriotic about supporting all the drugs that are coming in, all the things that we're allowing, the human sex trafficking, allowing all these things and policies going on? Like, what is patriotic about that? What screams "I love America" of
Nobody's
people?
allowing this.
You said that Democrats support, right?
No, I'm just asking, like, what are the patriotic acts that show? Because what patriotism means to me is kneeling for those who have sacrificed for our country. My father has served 30 years in the military, right? That is 30 years that he is not getting back, that he has fought for his country, laid down his life for. What is patriotic that the Democrats are doing, that are saying, hey, I'm going to lay my life down and not be egotistic and individualistic, and I'm going to serve and look out for others, look out for the next generation. What is it? So that's what I'm asking. To make that statement clear, what does that look like at the Democratic Party?
I actually think that's a great question. And the answer to your question would be a fight to protect and preserve the state of our democracy. I think that you listed off a whole cohort of claims there that were typically engaged in by Democrats that have been anti-patriotic, such as burning the flag, such as burning down buildings in the riots. And I agree with you, right? I think that those are clear displays of anti-patriotic behaviors. Do I necessarily disagree with them all the time? No, I don't think that it's wrong to burn the American flag if it's in protest of actions of the American government. But my claim here is that there's nothing less patriotic than supporting Donald Trump, a man that has already tried to destroy our country internally by overthrowing the results, attempting to overthrow the results of the 2020.
Okay, I completely understand that statement. I don't agree with that, but we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about your statement that Democrats are patriotic. So I'm asking about the actions are what, because we can keep tying in Kamala and Donald into this, but they are not the reason of being a conservative or a Democrat. It's the morals, it's the values, and the actions that you are reflecting.
Of course,
that you're
I understand you. And the morals and the values and the actions actions
that
reflected
you are doing
the morals?
as a Democrat,
Of course.
as a liberal.
Of course.
What are you reflecting that's benefiting
Of
your
course.
country?
Of course. Great
'Cause these
question.
socialism policies, these
What's
individualistic
socialism?
policies, these I want to consume these egotistic policies, these
She has a
you
bunch of
should
blanket ideas, but
worship
if we
in
go into the
closed
details,
doors
you
and
probably
proximities.
won't
Don't
get a
open the
detailed
Bible in
answer
school. Don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. All
Okay, do
these
you mind
things
if I
that we
respond?
see. No, yes. Just let me clarify.
Go
We'll
ahead.
finish real quick. So all these things that we see, we're being forced as conservatives to shut that down, to be quiet, to be banned. So how are we talking about free speech, freedom of religion, loving, and all this stuff? These are all things that you guys are proclaiming, but
Yeah, so do you agree
don't
with freedom
really
of
see
religion?
that. Of course.
So then you wouldn't agree with Trump's attempted Muslim ban?
Again, we're not talking about Trump. I'm asking for policies talking about how our Democrats really
Yeah, sure. Let's
patronize
go
or,
let's go
like,
over them. So first, I think that fighting for the freedoms of all 170 million American women by reinstituting federal protections for access to health care, that's going to be caring about the
So
US
abortion.
citizens. I think that yes. I think that fighting.
Okay. Just want to make that clear. I'm sorry, I just wanted to make that clear because there's a lot of
Okay, do you mind if I finish?
terminology to do that. No, I just wanted to make that clear so I'm on the same page. You can continue.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I obviously think being in a room surrounded by 20 conservatives, you're not going to look at access to abortion as healthcare. I think.
No, I'm sorry. Continue.
No worries.
This is a dialogue. You want a good, fruitful dialogue? Let's continue. I'm apologizing. I just.
Sweet. Yeah, and like I understand that there's going to be an ideological separation there, but from my side of the aisle, I absolutely think that this is something that should be federally protected. I think that infringing upon women's right to bodily autonomy, bodily integrity, all because they want to preserve the life of a non-sentient, or sorry, a multicellular life form that doesn't have
Did
the
your mom
capacity to
thought that about you? She
experiences
was about to
is
she
not-
thought that you were just some cells.
My mom, when I was where? I mean, it doesn't care what she thought I was that.
So you were just a bunch of cells. So that's what you're just believing in your.
Well, I mean, well, my particular claim was the reason why I'm pro-choice is because I don't value the life of a uni or multicellular.
But you
life
have
form
life.
that doesn't
so
have
you
the
get to
ability
make that
consciousness.
change. You get to make that choice by having life. And someone that doesn't have that voice to say like, oh, that's just a bunch of cells, just abort it.
I feel like he's not. I think he also has like talking points that he's ready about, which is obvious. A little inexperienced. I feel like sometimes you need to be able to respond to things that are being said, and people struggle with that sometimes, right? Most replayed. Oh,
know that the federal government isn't doing that, that it's nonprofit organizations, and that a lot of those nonprofit organizations were grounded in other countries.
multiple nonprofit organizations flew planes in and out of Afghanistan after the military withdrawal to evacuate Afghans who assisted the U.S. military and may have been in danger.
And
What is
not
that-
allowed
what is
to
this
enter
fact
in
check?
Okay,
for
so
pullout operations.
all right, let's look at the
So
pullout.
patriotic.
I don't get the concept
About
of
to
this
pull out of Afghanistan.
It was one of the largest events that happened after Biden took office, and also one of what I would consider one of the worst and most humiliating for America.
Okay. Well, if I can't like finish my statements, I don't see how we're going to be able to have productive conversations.
Do you know how many people are left, American citizens are left in Afghanistan?
I do not know how many American citizens are left in Afghanistan.
Are you familiar with any of the planes that have gone back to try and pull some of these people out? Do you know who's
no,
operating
not-
those planes?
so-
Do you know that the federal government isn't doing that, that it's nonprofit organizations, and that a lot of those nonprofit organizations were grounded in other countries and not allowed to enter in
Okay,
for
so
pullout operations?
all right, let's.
It's always interesting to me. Like, maybe I hear the Afghan stuff being brought up a lot, and for a situation that didn't go like perfectly by any means, it's very easy to say that, hey, you did a terrible job and I would have done it better without any proof that you would have done it better. But I feel like it's fine to be critical of things that should have been better. But it's trying to use that as a means to prop yourself up that I'm a bit hesitant.
Let's look at the
So
pullout.
patriotically
I
speaking,
mean, if I can't speak,
is
then
that
I'm
something
not
that's
gonna go anywhere.
patriotic to you? Is leaving someone behind patriotic?
Okay, well, if you will allow me to speak without.
I'm waiting for you.
Yeah.
You're
if-
very quick with everybody else. Come on.
If you will allow me to speak without
Go ahead.
interruption, we'll be able to have a hopefully productive conversation.
Come on. Point.
Okay.
Let's go.
Well, I'm seriously, I'm not going to be able to make a point if you keep interrupting me. Like that's just like we gotta.
No, you're stalling. You're stalling. Make your point. Was it patriotic?
Okay,
I'm asking
dude.
you a yes or no. Was that patriotic for you?
Okay.
Were you embarrassed?
Okay,
Do you have family
I'm not.
that's in the
I'm not going to be
military?
able to give you a yes or no answer. I'm gonna have to give you a fleshed out answer. I will address your point if you could.
Flushed out answer. You don't have a yes or no on patriotism, leaving people behind in Afghanistan.
So if you
a
will,
war that we spent over 20 years.
You're still not allowing me
fighting?
to talk here. Do you mind if I
I'm
finish?
waiting. Yes or no?
Well, it's not a yes or no question.
It
I
is
have
a
to
yes
give
or
you a
no
fully
question. I
fleshed out
asked you
answer.
yes or no. It's very
If you will-
direct.
if
Yes
you will-
or no.
Okay, so what
Was
you were
it
trying to do is you're
patriotic?
trying to force me into a
Was
yes or no
it
question when I can't even respond to the
patriotic?
claims that you've made.
Was it No, you're dancing
Oh my gosh, she's annoying. Oh my goodness. She's annoying.
around the question because you don't want to
okay,
answer it because
okay.
it's going to make you look bad.
So if
it
the
was
Afghanistan-
not patriotic, I think any American citizen can tell that it was not patriotic. It made us look bad. It was embarrassing. We all had doubts on what was going to happen under this administration.
To overthrow our federal government with the use of a coup to rig an election would be less.
What would you say to somebody? What would you?
Hey, welcome down. How you doing?
Okay, so I feel like a lot of what this question is holding is what is in the best for the American people, right?
Yes.
And like what is the most patriotic thing.
I like that.
And I feel like a lot of what has been discussed today, because I've heard it and a lot of people have said it, is, and then what you have addressed a lot is you don't think Trump is the best candidate, right? And then on top of that, I feel like the problem is with a lot of people right now is there's a lot of issues, a lot of hot topics, a lot of things that we could go over. And I think the problem is when we're thinking about what is the best thing for the American people, a lot of the past 4 years have gone astray and gone to garbage.
Okay.
And
would you be able to demonstrate to me like how you think the Biden and Harris administration has negatively impacted your life or the lives of other American citizens?
I feel like there's a lot of agendas that you've clearly want to talk about agendas, but in terms of like how they did, well, patriotically, let's talk about what happened in Hawaii. Like Trump supported a lot, or sorry, not Trump, Biden spent more money with Ukraine than what was happening in burning people in Hawaii.
Do you know why?
And then
we've
on
sent
top of
money
that,
to Ukraine?
sorry,
Do you know why we've sent money to Ukraine?
why we sent money to Ukraine?
Because of the Budapest Memorandum. We signed a denuclearization
We
agreement
spent
with you.
billions of dollars
Yes.
to people that are not even Americans. And on top,
tell you why.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's because of the Budapest Memorandum that we signed with them in the 1990s, stating if they give up their nukes, we'll defend them from a foreign entity if they're invaded. That's what they did. Us sending Ukraine funding and weapons is nothing more than the U.S. upholding our contractual end of an agreement that we made in the 90s.
All right, anything else?
Okay.
No, yeah.
Well, it looks like you are going to be finishing the episode off. We have 30 seconds on the clock.
I got 30
I'm not going to be able to
seconds.
respond to anything that you say, so take it away.
Yeah, one thing that you said about patriotism, I mean, I go to Trump rallies and I see people holding up.
Yeah, no, okay.
I think there were two reasons.
Yeah.
Dean will now choose a Trump supporter debate for 10 minutes on a claim of their choosing.
I think there were two reasons why Dean chose me. I think I was probably one of the more respectful people that disagreed with him. And then the second reason is I think I actually challenged him.
He had made a claim along the lines of Bill Clinton, you know.
Bro, why didn't you? I didn't even get to see that. I was watching the full thing and I didn't get to see. So this guy was the best. I guess they were saving him for last. Or
Cheating
maybe
on his wife with Monica Lewinsky and not being impeached by the Democrats in Congress, and how that may reflect some anti-family values. I think that it was probably the best rebuttal that I received from anybody today.
First, I want to shake your hand. I hope to have a respectful dialogue with you. My claim is that
we love to hear it.
abortion is immoral or not justified. And so I think it kind of comes down to four main reasons. So logically, the argument is to kill an innocent human being is morally wrong. I'm sure you agree with that one. The second is that abortion is the killing of an innocent human being. So therefore, abortion is morally wrong. So that's the logical argument. But I think there's 4 points that you're going to bring up that determine whether or not a fetus is human or not. So first is size. Second is level of development. 3 is environment. And 4th is degree of dependency. So all of those things, kind of what I hear pro-choicers say, fall under those categories. And none of those categories determine human value or human worth. You being valuable as a human is based one, in the fact that you are a human, like that you are part of the human species.
Okay.
But secondly, I would say because you are made in the image of God as well.
Okay.
And so that would be, I think, the basis of why I am pro-life.
Okay, yeah, let's have a conversation about this, man. So first of all, I'll just tell you why I'm pro-choice. So I'm pro-choice because I only value life forms that would fall into a specific conjunction of traits. I value any life form that has a conjunction between past or present and future subjective experiences, and it's not until about 20 through 24 weeks that is true of a fetus. Therefore, prior to that point, I'm not going to associate value.
I'm not gonna watch this. If you guys want to watch it, you guys can watch the full Jubilee video. I'll leave that for them. It sounds like it's gonna be a good conversation. But that's all I got for today. Appreciate y'all. You have a good one. Take care. Peace.